everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, I read Daredevil's second lore story, Clearing the Path. Basically, it focused on, it went back to the Shenlong tournament that happened way back in Season 4. So, it reached the point where it was on the final round, final fight between Matt and Lynn. And although Matt tried to broker a deal with Lynn on that he'll concede and forfeit the match to him if he gives him the Sword of Fushi. Except, of course, Lynn refuses, and once he can figure out what Matt is up to, he tries to warn him that trying to unleash Chiyu is not going to fix anything. Matt then tried to extract the Fushi sword using a special technique that Yinglong taught him, but in doing so, though, while he was able to get the sword out of Lin, Matt realized that since there's no obstructions in his arms, with the shards obstructing within his arms, all of Lin's chi from Shou Lao can now flow through all his body, and he delivered a very powerful blow on Matt and pretty much won the fight. Even though he had failed to get the sword, Yinglong was actually pleased that, at least for the time, Matt was able to put the 8th city on the map, or at least give it some form of recognition from the other capital cities. But he does tell Matt that they will try again another time. But now Matt is questioning and wondering if he really should continue what he's doing. Because if he thinks that he may be too far down the route he's going to turn back and change anything. But we shall see. So, today we are going to read the final lore story that we have available. Punisher. Right. So, if I remember correctly, at the time when I read his lore story, I think all I had was the Thunderbolts. I might have had this one. I'd have to check and see, just to make sure. Oh, and I also have to do another little thing, but that one won't take too long. Okay, just a moment, still opening up YouTube. I got to see for myself. Sushi. Okay. Yep. Creator Studio, the channel dashboard. Dum-de-dum-de-doo. Here it is. Rivals. And then this is where, yep, I started reading lore. Let's see. Magneto lore. Wolverine. Go up some. Ultron, Thor. There it is. Now, let's see. What did I have at the time? Yeah, all I had was his Thunderbolts outfit. I didn't have any of his other outfits. I didn't even have this at the time either. Alright, even a century on, even with a world transformed, slipping into camo brings a flood of military memories back in sharp relief. Danganronpa. Frank Castle, the foreign traveler, initially set out to explore the world, but his journey took a tragic turn during a family outing in Kirisaki Mountain, when Orochi, the great snake, devoured his loved ones. From that moment, this once ordinary man was irrevocably transformed, his eyes forever haunted by his losses, now known as the Danganronpa. He wields a modified Tangashima, I think that's how you say it, and has sworn a blood oath. Wherever evil lurks, my bullets will be the fire that purges the darkness, for only punishment awaits those that harm those that can't defend themselves. So just for reference, Dangan is Japanese for bullet, I believe. I know this from playing Danganronpa. And the weapon he's wielding is technically a type of cannon that would normally shoot like fireworks, I believe, or rockets. The Asian cultures certainly were on the right track of things. Aqua Arsenal. I just bought this recently. It's been a while since I felt this warmth. Far from the smoke, bloodshed. Maria would have loved this place. I could almost hear Lisa and Junior laughing in the sand. Alright, there we go. What can I customize them with? Ah, okay. Some okay different colors. And how does this work with this?
Judge, jury, exit.
Oh, it shoots streams of water like bullets. Okay. Next up, the Marauder Marksman. I've had my share of dreams about space. One time, I was some kind of intergalactic vigilante, tracking down a crew of bald-headed scum for payback. Another time, I was Ghost Rider, riding around with a crazy helmet on a bike with electric wheels. Standing out here for real is something else. Makes you realize how small you are. But my war, my mission, doesn't stop. Not even in space. With him saying that he had a dream that he was the Ghost Rider, I think something like that did happen in the comics. I think either there was a what-if story where the Spirit of Vengeance took Frank as its host instead of Danny or Johnny. Like, it took one of those, it took him instead. But I think even with the Spirit of Vengeance, he was even more ruthless to the point that I think he extended all of it to just hell itself. I mean, I don't fully remember. He might also be referring to, like, the Cosmic Ghost Rider because of the space theme. Anyway, Thunderbolts. Or, no, sorry, Punisher 2099. They call me the Punisher. And I take issue with people who go around murdering other people. I'll give you one chance to surrender. Please don't take it. Frankencastle. I saved your life, Frank Castle. Make good help. Make good. I saved your life, Frank Castle. Make good. Help us. What do you say? I say good luck. Daredevil Born Again, Season 1. I'll tell you right now, they come up here, I'm not playing patty cake with these fanboys. I'm chopping them up. I believe, I mean, I may have not watched, I mentioned how I haven't really been watching the Marvel stuff lately, but I do believe that, at least in Season 1 of the show, Frank had to deal with the fact that because of his activities and actions, he was developing, like, essentially there were people who were admiring his way of doing things and thought he was the answer. But he's like, no, I am not here to be a symbol or a model to anyone. I will kill them because they're trying to emulate me. Of course, I think Matt does point out how, oh, so you'll kill criminals, but you don't consider yourself a criminal, you know. And I know I went over the Thunderbolts long ago. Oh, hi Jackson, popping through my door like that. Alright, well, that takes care of that. Oops. Here it is. One last shot. What's taking so long, kid? Frank asked, his patience starting to wear thin. Sorry, Lunella replied. There was a bit of drama down in the research and development that needed my attention. I think everything's under control now. Thought you were supposed to be recalibrating that machine Richards built, Frank said. Whatever the hell it is. It's a time stream reintegration device, Lunella replied. It was designed to get all the fractured realities in the Chronoverse back into alignment. Like by sending this tower back to 2099 where it belongs, Frank said. Exactly, Lunella exclaimed. Alchemax HQ isn't supposed to be in the lower Manhattan of this era, and its presence here is causing all sorts of chrono disruptions. Once we send it back home, we can patch up the damage it caused and start to heal both timelines. Still don't understand why we needed to bring that contraption here into enemy territory, Frank said. Because it was easier to bring the TRD to my lab than it would have been to bring my lab to the TRD, Lunella said with a shrug. That, plus the fact that we're using Alchemex's proprietary brand of Chronovium to power it up. Trust me, there was no way we were going to be able to smuggle that stuff out of here alive. Devil Dinosaur bellowed as he gently nudged his partner with his giant red snoot. Yeah, I know, Dev, Lunella said. I don't want to hang around this place any longer than I have to either. But believe it or not, most of the folks who work for Alchemax aren't actually evil. They're just doing their jobs. If I'm going to send them home, I want to do it the right way. No one needs to get hurt, right? Right, Frank replied awkwardly as Devil gave him an uncomfortable sideways glance. What Lunella didn't realize was that plenty of people had already been hurt. Together, Frank and Devil had gone on a ruthless rampage through the building in search of Lunella, taking down all of the soldiers on Alchemex's payroll who dared to stand in their way. For Devil, it was all about liberating his long-lost partner in crime fighting. For Frank, this mission was personal for totally different reasons. Before he became a one-man war against crime, Frank Castle was more than just a soldier. He was a father, one who failed to save his children from getting caught in the crossfire and losing their lives far too soon. When he learned that Moon Girl had been taken captive by a group of corrupt corporate security officers, he volunteered to take point on her rescue without hesitation. He wasn't about to stand idly by and watch another child suffer the same fate as his own. Maybe that's why he and Lunella's pet dinosaur found a common bond. They both were willing to do whatever it took, no matter how brutal, to complete the operation and save the girl. She never needed to know the details about what they had done to get to her. She was safe now, and that was all that mattered. As he stood there watching Lunella work, Frank couldn't help but wonder what his own daughter might have done to help save the world, if she only had the chance. "You all right, Mr. Castle?" Lunella asked, noticing that Frank's stoic expression had begun to crack ever so slightly. "Yeah, kid," Frank said, collecting himself. "All good. How's that machine coming along?" "Actually," she said, "I could use your help." "You'd be better off calling Stark," Frank said, "or even Squirt, or even Doreen. I'm no genius." "Oh, I've got that part covered," Lunella said confidently. "I need you for a little brute strength." "That I can probably handle," Frank said with a smirk. "But to be fair, I think your dino has me beat in that department." "Double D is strong, sure," Lunella said, "but this task requires the kind of precision that doesn't come with arms as tiny as his." Devil groaned, embarrassed. You know, funny thing, I think recent research had said how Tyrannosaurus arms are not as tiny as we think they are. They're almost as big as a human, And I'd have to read it again. I know I saw something recently saying how Tyrannosaurus arms are not as tiny and useless as we think they are. We all have our specialties, Frank said, giving Devil a supported pat on the head. Tell me what you need me to do, kid. I need you to carefully lift the TRD off the workbench and connect it to that console over there, Lunella directed. This one here? Frank asked, gesturing at the high-tech display. No! Lunella yelled. If you connect it to that, it'll blow us all up. It has to get plugged into the one next to it. Of course, Frank said, rolling his eyes almost playfully. How silly of me. As Frank lifted the heavy device and carried it toward the correct console, he remembered the games he used to play with his own children, following their orders as they made him move furniture around to build forts and imaginary rocket ships. It felt like a dozen lifetimes ago, but he missed those days more than he cared to let himself remember. That should do it, Lunella said as the TRD clicked into place. Now I should be able to juice it up with Chronovium. And then, Frank asked, then we get out of this stupid building and send it back to the stupid future forever, she said, excited to finally be setting things right. Yeah, Frank said, about that. Oh, Lunella said sheepishly. I forgot, you're from that future, aren't you? Uh-huh, Frank nodded. Sorry I called it stupid, she said. You're not wrong, Frank said, chuckling. It's kind of the worst. Between Alchemex and the public eye and the punks like the Yoshidas, I don't get a day's rest. Then stay here, she said. Dev seems to trust you. Any friend of his is a friend of mine. We could clean up the Lower East Side together. I have a feeling our methods aren't exactly aligned, Frank mused. Besides, Captain America said that sticking around a timeline that ain't our own is the wrong thing to do. I've never been one to agree with Old Glory. So, you're going back? Lunella asked, a tinge of sadness in her voice. For now, yeah, Frank said. But don't worry, kid. I'm sure I'll be back here again soon enough. And even if I'm not, I promise I won't forget you. I don't know, Lunella said. You're the Punisher. I'm just some kid. Some kids are worth remembering, Frank said, reaching down into a pouch on his reaching down into a pouch on his belt and removing a pendant. He handed it over to Lunella, who opened it to see what was inside. Who are they? She asked, looking at the pictures inside of the pendant. This thing is pretty busted up. Can't make out their faces. Those are my kids, Frank said, before correcting himself. Or they were. I'm so sorry, Lunella said, studying the damaged keepsake. And this pendant, is all you had left to remember them by? The only physical thing, Frank said. But thankfully, I still got memories. Good ones. It got broken when you were trying to save me, didn't it? She asked knowingly. Frank didn't respond, but he could see that his allies weren't lying. When that said, it probably should say, when they said Moon Girl was one of the smartest people alive. I think I can repair this, Lunella said, her sadness suddenly giving way to excitement. I need a way to test the TRD, and this will make the perfect trial run. I can just rewind its temporal signature by like 20 minutes or so. That should restore its physical condition to before it was damaged. It'll be good as new. You would do that for me? Frank asked. It's the least I can do after everything you did for me, Lunella said. Now hold tight. This should only take a second. Moon Girl placed the damaged pendant on the workbench in front of her. With the touch of a few buttons, The time stream reintegration device released a small pulse of red energy in its direction. When the glow faded, Frank reached out and picked up his treasure memento, examining it closely. You fixed it, his eyes beginning to well up as he saw the faces of his children smiling back at him once more. Of course I did, she said proudly. Must be that moon girl magic I've been hearing so much about, Frank said. You better believe it, Lunella replied. And not only is your pendant fixed, but it also means the TRD is ready to go. Then that's your cue to roll out, Frank ordered. Just show me which button to hit and I'll activate your machine once I know you're clear from the tower. You sure? Lunella asked, reluctantly pointing at the TRD's activation switch. Maybe I should stick around too. You know, just to be certain it works. I mean, you said it yourself. You're no genius, and I guess 2099 wasn't all that bad. The Punisher nodded at Devil, who reached down and grabbed a hold of Lunella's belt with his enormous teeth, hoisting her into the air. Hey, put me down, Dev! Lunella yelled in protest, but for once, Devil didn't listen to his BFF. Get her somewhere safe, pal, Frank said to Devil. I'll take it from here. The dinosaur snorted a solemn goodbye to the Punisher, turning to exit the lab with Moon Girl still dangling from his jaws. Thanks again for the help, Mr. Castle, Lunella hollered as she was forcefully removed from Alchemex HQ by her prehistoric partner. I won't forget this. Thank you, kid, Frank said, gazing down at the faces of his children once again. Neither will I. Well, alright. That is Punisher's second lore story. Well, I mean, it shows you that, you know, Frank has his reasons for doing what he does. His family was killed, but the fact that it included his children and who had barely begun to live, nothing's worse than a parent losing its offspring. That's the most greatest pain of all. You can experience all sorts of pains, mental and emotional and physical. But if you're a parent, or at least a parental figure, and then the one that you're watching over, be it your actual child or not, when they're gone, you know, when they're gone and when they die, unexpectedly, it really hurts. That's why there's the phrase that no man, no father should have to bury his children. No parent has to see the death of their child. I'm getting too serious, though. Alright, well, that will do for this episode of Marvel Rivals. So, for next time, let me see. I need to pull up the roadmap for the season. Here it is. Okay, so there is a new map. The new map was added when this half of the season launched. I thought it was going to be like another week or so until it came in, but no, it's here. I will show it off. It's the Kunlun map. It's in Kunlun. It's the Shenlong Arena. It's part of a new game mode too, though. As for the other stuff on the roadmap, all we have really is just two new events. One that is the Rivals Summer Festival of this year. Not sure what that is. Another is called Express Juice, which, again, I don't know what that is. And that's pretty much all the important ones. So it'll be just a little bit until I can get the gallery images. I already got one of them, but I need a little more time to build up for the others. So, that is it, and I will see you guys next time.